I want to move into 2011, Tyler, and just kind of ask you again. You guys go back to back, and you take out the Florida Gators, and I want to get into that series, especially Game 1, in just a second. But I've talked to some of your former teammates and other guys, and the one that really sticks out is Adrian Morales, who was, of course, a leader of that team, and he sort of talked about how much different it was between 10 and 11, in the sense that 10 was the first time ever doing it, and the walk off and all that. And 11 was much more, and I'm sure you relate to this being at the major league level. It was much more business-like, in the sense like, okay, we know we're the best. We expect to win every game. The expectations to win the whole thing. We're not hoping we do it, which obviously doesn't make it any less sweet, of course. And it's funny because I remember watching those games with fans, and not that people celebrated any differently, I'd say, but I think the expectation was just so ingrained. It's like, okay, just going to do it again. Just kind of like, it was just a given that you guys were going to get it back to back. And of course you eventually did. And, what a wild ride that was in Omaha as well, from that Virginia game being down, or Texas, what was it? Texas A&M being down 4-0, to the crazy Virginia game, and the Florida games, of course. I mean, there were some wild moments in that run as well. But you close out Rosenblatt, you open up TD Ameritrade. How much different, if different at all, was 11? Was it any less sweet? I mean, I find it hard to believe it would be, but from the guys I've talked to, there definitely was a different feeling when you guys won that 2011 title versus 2010.
Yeah, it was a different feeling for sure. I would agree with the business like, but I think just going through it in 10, and we had a lot of guys back on that 11 team that were part of the first national championship, and knew what to expect, and knew that the adversity would come at some point, which it did in Omaha, and that we could handle it. And I think we just went maybe from this Cinderella story kind of underdog team against UCLA that no one was picking, to like, oh no, we can handle it. We're confident. We know we're good. And then kind of showing that. And it was a different celebration, but I think it was just as sweet knowing that you accomplished the goal that you had, and with that target on your back, you still got it done, which was, yeah, it was a different celebration, but just as sweet in my opinion.
Yeah, Tyler, switching gears just a little bit, because I'm looking at that sophomore season for you. And again, you went 3-1 with a 3 ERA, 22 appearances, and you had 36 innings pitched. Again, kind of a switching gears just a bit, but obviously those teams, and I just think back to all the guys you played with, and all the guys that, of course, you're in the big leagues right now. We think of Christian Walker, Whit Merrifield, amongst a host of others, Michael Roth, Matt Price, other guys that played professional baseball, and just the sheer amount of, JBJ, the sheer amount of depth and talent you guys had. And I look at your statistics, and again, very respectable, and you did your
Mhm.
thing, but I'm thinking, maybe at any other school, you're a guy, maybe you are a team's Friday night starter, or you're pitching like 100 innings or something like that. Like, how much better did it make you as a player, knowing that, there were, 5, 6, 7, 8 other guys that are looking to take your job? And again, I'm sure that pressure was there, just like it is now for you in the big leagues. I mean, you string together a couple of bad outings, you might
Yeah.
lose your job. You might not pitch again. I mean, how much better did that make you as a player, though, while you were in Columbia?
Oh, it made all the difference. Being in a program like South Carolina, where if you're not throwing well, you're not going to pitch for a month and a
Yeah.
half. That, and you knew that going in, and everyone else knew it, and it was it was incentive to throw well, obviously, and then later on down the road, you got in the minor leagues, and sometimes in the minor leagues, you can throw bad and you still get promoted, or you still have a job, but eventually you have to perform to keep a job. And having those experiences in Columbia were just so valuable in my career now. And like you said, that the caveat to that is that then you had all the other guys down the bullpen, which picked you up if you had a bad night, or there was such a, no one was carrying that much of a burden.
Mm.
It was kind of the next man up mentality. And it's when you got Ross starting it, and Price closing it, and John Taylor, Jose Mata, you got all those guys.
Mm.
You don't put too much pressure on yourself, because you do your job, everyone else is going to do theirs, and most of the time we would win the game.
Mm. Now, 2011 Game 1 against Florida, Tyler, you pitched 2 1/3 scoreless in that one. and a 2-1 win, of course. And everybody remembers the Scott Wingo plays, the Robert Berry scoop at home, the Jake Williams throw, the so many moments. I mean, have you ever been a part of a crazier baseball game than that one?
I don't think so. I mean, it was such a strange, maybe the Virginia game, but again, I had a different view because I had already been in the game in the Florida game, so I'm watching it from the dugout where I hadn't been for a very long time. I'm usually in the bullpen watching from 300 feet away, so the highs and lows of that game, seemed more heightened because I was in the dugout maybe, and it was just a wild game with Barry's pick and Wingo laying out and the Williams throw, like you said. I mean, it was, I'm sure it took a couple years off the lives of everybody in that dugout, but I don't think they trade it now, but it was definitely it was good baseball, and it was definitely entertaining.
I'm curious, Tyler, how would a guy like Scott Wingo compared to other guys you've played with in the big leagues in regards to second baseman? Because I know Scott's career didn't exactly work out at the, beyond the minor league level or what have you. But I mean, you talk to anybody, and I've talked to guys that again have played the big league level, and they say they still have not seen a better defensive second baseman, or hardly even a better defensive infielder than Scott Wingo. Like his hands, his glove work, just incredible.
Yeah, defensively, like you said, I mean, he was hard to beat, and I played with some good ones, but Wingo is definitely up there, and he could definitely hold his own, no question about it. And he was special to watch at second base, that's for sure.
Mm.